Well, I really feel that democracy is sick. And, one thing that the Greens are doing to try to be a small step in change is representing their constituents first. So, do you know what? It feels a bit like being an activist, being a Green MP, and I'm sure it feels the same way in the House, is that you're standing up for democracy just by existing. Is that a reason to vote for us? Well, the Greens are hoping that we're giving you something to vote for rather than vote against. And voting strategically, I feel, can be a message of fear rather than of hope. So if you're voting strategically, then perhaps you're voting against something that you don't want and potentially voting for someone that you don't think will represent you well. And so that's my issue with voting strategically, is that it comes generally from a place of fear rather than a place of hope or want or need. And the Greens have provided an alternative. Then rather than having to toe the party line or to have to vote according to your party, you can actually work to foster a revival in grassroots democracy. And I really think that is the biggest reason to vote Green. Oh, that's a big question.
It's a big question. But something that would most have a direct effect in Charlottetown, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we can change the way that the payments go to the municipalities, that would be a big change. Like, they need to increase. So right now, there's a small amount of gas tax that's being given to the provinces that then gets transferred to the municipalities. And I feel like that amount, if that amount increases, we'll see a big change in Charlottetown. Like, we can't ensure that we're going to have enough water at this moment. Like, we're basically taking every little drop out of the Winter River to provide water for our citizens in the city. And that's just because the infrastructure isn't there to provide water. So we need a new water source, but to do that you need money. And so the feds can give more money. So I really feel that providing more money to the municipalities for infrastructure, and the kind of money that can be free for the cities to do what they feel is best to invest in their infrastructure is the best. So that's probably the one policy that I would want to see changed immediately. But that sort of goes hand in hand with ensuring that municipalities have a voice at the federal level, which they don't now. So right now there's like the federation basically is the provinces and then the federal government. But we have all of these cities that are basically providing all these frontline services, including like water and sewage and electricity and all of these infrastructure things that and the state of their roads. And so it just seems silly that they're not part of the conversation. But really, when it comes down to it, it's money. And we have the money to give to cities. It's just redirecting it to the cities. Well, core value of the Green Party is nonviolence. So I would say, personally in my heart, I would say only in the most extreme circumstances. But you have to be very careful because you can't really heal anything by bombing it. So the Green Party believes in peace first, so diplomacy and humanitarian aid first. It's not our conflict to join one side or another in any conflict that's not directly involving Canada. And so I would say pretty much never. But to say that Canada's not involved is also being pretty naive to think that our international policies aren't playing in and our international trade deals aren't playing into the violence, because it is, and our huge military investment, the military machine that we invest in is perpetuating it. So ultimately I'd say the Green Party comes from a place of nonviolence, and we would promote diplomacy and humanitarian aid first. Well, we would like to diversify. Right now, we have a lot invested in large corporations and the 1%. We're providing them a lot of subsidies and a lot of incentives to stay big and to hold on to the money. and tax relief for them, rather than supporting local and supporting other means outside of the oil sands and the oil industry. So we'd like to see investment in green energy, renewables, basically, and that infrastructure, and innovation that's needed to make sure that we can be leaders in that industry. It also provides a bit more, energy diversity, and obviously health for our environment. But that sort of trickles around or moves around into the concept of local first. So we believe that investing in local economies builds the whole economy in Canada. So investing in like local food security and local energy sovereignty and local jobs and small businesses which service local communities, and also do some exporting, but really shifting our gears from this sort of like big to the local focus. We also are like committed, this is one reason why I became interested in the Greens as a student, is that they've been advocating for free tuition. And we truly believe that if we lessen or eliminate the burden of debt on students, that we're going to see our economy grow. I know if I left university without the $30,000 of debt that I had after multiple degrees, that I would have a much easier time doing what I wanted to do, becoming a productive member instead of being sort of enslaved to poverty. So that's one thing. And really the economy is something that is so cohesive into everything that we do every day, that when I think about it from that perspective, we really have to look at all aspects of our lives, not just numbers exchanging hands or changing on a screen. It really comes down to how people are living and how people are eating. So if we can ensure that people have enough to meet their needs and are eating healthy food and have access to free education, then we're going to see our economy grow. But that comes back to like thinking about local first, local and small first, and also about actual human happiness and humans when it comes to policy and the way we deliver our economic strategy, rather than thinking about corporations and corporate rights. I truly believe that it's a mix. I mean, I am a voice within my community. So my perspective is just as important as yours or the various other people in my community. So I'm part of that discussion. But government should be a discussion with the people. And that's where it comes back to like fostering grassroots democracy. Like you need an engaged community in order to understand where that voice wants you to go as a representative. And so yes, I'm part of the community and my voice is there, and I come from a place of ecological wisdom, social justice, nonviolence, and grassroots democracy. Those are the values that I come with as a Green candidate. But it doesn't mean that I have any right to choose what is right for Charlottetown, because I'm only one person. So I guess with that whole preamble, yes, I do think that MPs should represent their communities first. But you're chosen as hopefully someone who's trustworthy and comes from a place of these inner morals and values that the people believe would be a good leader for their community. So it's a bit of both. You're looking for leadership in your MP, but they should ultimately be the voice of the people. Do you know what? Personally, there's not a lot that I don't disagree with when it comes to the Green Party. They do have an approach to seal hunting that I probably wouldn't wholeheartedly endorse, but again, that's because it would affect close friends of mine, and so it's a bit too personal for me to be completely objective about. But then again, I would just refer back to my community, and that's the great thing about the Green Party. I mean, even when I signed up, put my name forward to be a candidate, they had me outline all of the things that I didn't agree with, and told me that really that government is a conversation and policy is a conversation. Basically, like I have a right to dissent, and it's part of a human right in the functioning of our government. So I think that sort of overrides everything. But really, I think the only thing that I disagree with is probably their approach to abolishing the seal hunt. Yeah, that's about it. I think debt's the number one problem. Because even if they're jobs, you're still going to be burdened with debt. So, you know, but I think it's also just that students and young people aren't thought of as being an important enough issue in Ottawa. It would be really nice to have government actually acknowledge across the board that student debt is a problem. I mean, we're hearing people mention that it's not a problem still. And it's like, what? Like, where have you been? You know? So I would say student debt. But you can't just eliminate student debt. It has to come with a comprehensive plan to deal or to approach with, like, so what happens after all that free education. And the Greens have a really great idea of investing money into cities to be able to hire students to work for the community sector, the nonprofit sector, and the municipalities after school. So you would basically enter right into a paid position that would give you experience if you wanted to go that route. And it would be diverse because it's in the community sector, and the environmental sector. So, for example, like right now, the city of Charlottetown has an energy auditor that was hired. Holland College has an energy auditor program. And so wouldn't it be great if a grad from that program or a few grads from that program just got hired to do city audits, basically to tell them how to be more energy efficient. That would make a lot of sense. And then we have other students that are working for CLIA, like the the Community Legal Information Association. So like you can go from being an energy auditor to working in a legal office. There's so much diversity in our community sector that it just makes sense to pair free education up with some form of giving back to the community in a well-paying job to get work experience right away. So yes, student debt's number one, and jobs would be number two. And I think they have to go hand in hand as a solution.